Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 26a. We were in the middle of a story, so I'll start with a story. It's the bottom of 25b. It was that the father of Azir collected taxes for 13 years, and when the head tax collector of the river region would come to the city, Azir's father would prepare the residents ahead of time. When he would see the rabbis, he would say to them as a hint, "Come, my people, enter into your chambers and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourself for a little moment until the indignation is past." Isaiah 26:20, he said this so that the head tax collector would not see the rabbis, and it would be possible to lower the taxes of the city. When he would see the ordinary people of the city, he would say to them, "Beware, as the head tax collector of the river region is coming to the city and will now slaughter the father. Take one's money." I mean, slaughter the father before the son and the son before the father. Just an aphorism for taking their money. Okay, so now we're on the top of 26a. Ganzu kule alma ki asi amarle miman nive. And everyone would hide. When the head tax collector would arrive, Rabbi Zera's father would say to him, "From whom shall I request taxes? The city is scarcely populated, and only a small sum of taxes should be imposed upon it. Ki nicha nafshe amar lahu shikulu telesar me'eh ditzeri li bisidanai ve'ahadru le palanya de shekaltin nahu bine velo itzrichu li." When he was dying, he said to those standing around his deathbed, "Take 13 ma'ah that are tied up in my sheet and return them to so-and-so, as I took them from him, but I did not need them to pay the tax." Evidently, some tax collectors are God-fearing and should not be disqualified. Amar Rabbi Shimon, Batechila hayu korin Amar Rabbi Shimon, Batechila hayu korin oisan osvei shvius. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Shimon said initially people would call them gatherers of the produce of the sabbatical year. Once the tax collectors grew abundant, they would then call them merchants who trade in the produce of the sabbatical year. Mike Amar Yehuda Hachik Amar Betechila Hayu Omrim Osvei Shvius Ksherin Sucharim Pesulin. The Gemara asks, what is he saying? What is Rabbi Shimon teaching in this statement? Rabbi Yehuda says that this is what he is saying. Initially, the sages would say that gatherers of the produce of the sabbatical year, meaning those who gather a large quantity of produce of the sabbatical year for themselves, are fit to bear witness, but merchants who trade in the produce of the sabbatical year are disqualified. Mishirabu mamtsi'e ma'os le'aniyim ve'az le'aniyim ve'asfe lehu umaisu chazru le'lomar echad zeh ve'echad zeh pesulin. Once those who would offer money to the poor to gather produce for them grew abundant, and the poor would go and gather the produce for those who hired them and bring it to them, and gathering a large amount of produce of the sabbatical year was considered a business. The sages then said that both this category, gatherers of the produce of the sabbatical year, and that category, merchants who trade in the produce of the sabbatical year, are disqualified. Kashuba b'nei Rechava, Hai Mishirabu ha'anasim, Mishirabu ha'tagarim mibayle. The children of the sage Rechava had a difficulty with this explanation, as accordingly this phrase, once the tax collectors grew abundant, is inaccurate. The Mishnah should have stated, once the merchants grew abundant. Ela batchila hayu omrim, echad ze ve'echad ze pesulin, mishirabu ha'anasin, ma'nihu, arnona, kedemachriz Rabbi Yanai, puku uzarau, bashviis, mishum arnona. Chazru lomar, osvin ksherin zochrin pesulin. Rather, Rabbi Shimon's statement should be explained differently as follows. Initially, the sages would say that both this category, gatherers of the produce of the sabbatical year, that category, merchants who trade in the produce of the sabbatical year, are disqualified. Once the tax collectors grew abundant, it was permitted to gather the produce of the sabbatical year. And what tax did they collect? Arnona, which was a heavy tax on property collected both during sabbatical year and in other years, placing pressure on those observing the sabbatical year. As Rabbi Yanai proclaimed, go out and sow the fields during the sabbatical year, and due to the Arnona, why does it look so familiar? Arnona. Okay. As Rabbi Yanai proclaimed, go out and sow the fields during the sabbatical year due to the Arnona that you must pay. Once this happened, the sages then said, gatherers of the produce of the sabbatical year are fit to bear witness, as they were no longer viewed as transgressors, but merchants who trade in this produce are still disqualified. Rabbi Chia bar Zarnoke, Rabbi Shimon ben Yehotzadak, Havo ka'azli la'avir shana be'asya. Pagabahu Resh Lakish, Itapal b'hadayu amar, Ezel ichaze hechi avde uvda. The Gemara recounted an incident connected tangentially to the discussion concerning the sabbatical year. Rabbi Chia bar Zarnoki and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehotzadak were going to intercalate the year in Asya, as circumstances did not enable them to perform the intercalation of the year in Eretz Yisrael. Reish Lakish met them and joined with them. He said, I will go and see how to do the deed, meaning how the intercalation is performed practically. Chaze lahu gavra, deka keriv, amar lahen kohen v'choresh, amru lo, yachol omar, agis davan, ani b'tocho. Reish Lakish saw a certain man plowing a field. He said to the other sages, look at this priest who is plowing during the sabbatical year. And they said to him that he could say, in his own defense, I am a hired worker in the field which belongs to a Gentile, therefore it is permitted. Tu chazai lahu gavra, dehavi kazach becharme amar lahu alahen kohen v'zamer, amru lo יכול לומר להקל בית הבד, אני צריך. אמר להם, הלב יודע אם להקל, אם לעקלקלות. Rish Lakish further saw a certain man pruning vines in the vineyards. He said to the other sages, look at this priest who is pruning vines during the sabbatical year. They said to him, he could say, I need the branches to make a bale for my olive press, a basket to hold olives for pressing, since he is not pruning the vines for agricultural purposes, but to use the branches. It is permitted for him to do so in the sabbatical year. Rish Lakish said to them, in a plain words, the heart knows whether he is doing so for a bale or whether he is saying this as deceit. Akel or kalkalot. And see how much more do we have here? Whoa. Yeah, I think we'll do part 2. We'll do a part 2.